Hola, hola! Welcome to the Breakthrough Brand Show. I'm Fabi Paolini, and my mission on this podcast is to give you the behind-the-scenes stories, anecdotes, and unique perspectives behind building a premium brand that makes a real impact. I believe that when you create a message that is aligned with your truth,
well, today I have the lovely Nancy Erickson, who is called the book professor, and she shares with you how we're making authors of high stories behind nonfiction books that will establish them as experts in the field, increase their credibility, and help attract a following. I am beyond excited to have you here, Nancy. Tell me a little bit more about what you do in your own words.
Sure. Okay, so we help people who aren't writers to become authors of these high impact nonfiction books. And I actually own two book related businesses. One is called The Book Professor. And then I own a nonfiction publishing house, Stonebrook Publishing, where we publish our authors' books and many other authors' nonfiction books.
That's amazing. Well, how did you get into this? How did this happen? I'm super curious.
Really kind of totally sideways. My original career was in high tech, and I had been a systems engineer for IBM, and I worked for Oracle Corporation. And about 17 or so years ago, my father was diagnosed with a terminal brain tumor. And so we knew he'd only live about 7 months. So I quit everything and went to Florida, where you are. That's where my parents lived, and spent that time with my mom and dad until he passed away. And so I came home, and then I was like, I quit my job, and now I have this like blank slate in front of me. And I had always loved writing. I'd always wanted to be a writer, but I went into that other direction, when I graduated from college. So I went back to school and got a master's of fine arts in writing. And I was asked to teach at the university that I graduated from. That's kind of one of the advantages of being an older student. And then at the same time, I started Stonebrook Publishing, which is the nonfiction publishing house. So the first book I published was really pretty amazing. It was written by a Holocaust survivor who had gone to school with Anne Frank.
Oh, wow.
So I know. And so we ended up doing their book release in Amsterdam at their school.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's quite a story.
Two things that were still there in current day that were there in the 40s when the Nazis occupied Amsterdam was their school, and across the street, the bookstore. So they had a huge ceremony at school for the 170 children who'd been murdered by the Nazis. And then we went across the street and did this book release. And so that book is being used in the education market as kind of a companion to Anne Frank's diary. So then the next book we published, we got back cover endorsements for that book from Sir Paul McCartney and Cindy Crawford. And I was like, amazing. I was like, oh my gosh, I must know what I'm doing. But here was the problem. We were getting a lot of manuscripts from people who had a seed of what we're really trying to accomplish, which is to change lives and save lives and transform society. But they were so poorly written that we couldn't do anything with that material. So I took a step back and I didn't publish anything for a year. And during that time, I wrote this step by step by step by step process so that, any author could be, or, any
person could become an author, right?
Could become an author, right. And so that's the process that we take our clients through. And it's remarkably effective. And
that's amazing. That is incredible. It's so interesting because, I guess your ideal client is made up of these professionals and experts, and that doesn't mean that they're going to be immediately a great author. I think that I experienced this through the work, right? I experience this through the work that I do, that somebody being an expert in the field doesn't make them an expert communicator. And that's why having that sort of process that you have is really, really important. important. So tell me a little bit more actually about how and I know that this is going to be obvious, but I'm still going to ask it. How having these books impacts their visibility, their credibility, their authority? I'm kind of curious of what that.
You're really tuned in on the branding aspect. I know.
Of course.
This is so important to your brand. So if I can tell you a little bit about the process, then it'll
yeah,
really
perfect.
So when we write your book, we start off with a series of foundational questions that help you to crystallize your message. And there are things like, why are you even doing this? What's your motivation? Who is your audience? How will your audience be changed as a result of taking in your message? And there's 12 of these. So we end up taking the answers to those questions and distilling them down into a purpose statement for the book that says, the purpose of this book is to do this particular thing for this specific audience, period. You can't put everything in a book. I mean, a lot more than you can put in a book. So you have to target it to your message and to your audience. So that helps you to prioritize what will be in the book and what you're going to set aside for your next book. Okay. So when we construct your chapters, we do it in problem solution sets. So what is the problem your reader is likely to have? And then through a very story-driven methodology, you present solutions. So a chapter is just a container for information. Each chapter addresses one problem and it solves that problem. So at the end, when you are finished with your book and it's out on the market, that book becomes the launch pad for you to deliver your message across multiple venues. Everybody in your audience is not going to read a book. So we want to meet the market where they're already engaged. So you can take that chapter content and repurpose it for other revenue producing products, such as keynote speeches or seminars or workshops or online courses or video training or podcasting. And so that it helps you to extend your brand across, like I said, multiple venues so that you can reach the most people.
I love that. And what I think is interesting from what you're saying is that I would imagine that this process of really answering those questions, what is the problem? How are we going to solve this problem for our audience? At the end of the day, what you're doing is helping these people get a lot of clarity in their own brands, in their own messaging. And obviously that they're going to be able to repurpose that into other areas. So I really, really love that. Can you?
Much. Yeah. And it really helps them to clarify their brand. Like, what am I doing? I mean, I can only do one thing really well, and that's this, helping people to write books. So I do it over and over and over again. Do that. When you, the listener who's listening now, do that in your own business, your brand becomes very clarified too. And so you can extend that beyond just, the truth is, if you want a bigger audience, you need a bigger platform. You need to have a way to get out of your own circle and reach people with your message and your brand. And this definitely helps that, our audience, our clients get more clear on what that is and what they're offering to the world.
I love that. So what happens after the book is published? Because I would imagine that there's a lot that goes into writing the book, but then once the book is ready, what happens then?
Well, there's a lot of steps between writing your book and it being out on the market. And so one of the most important things that we do for you afterward is we do a professional edit of your book. So everybody comes into this with different writing skills. Right. And I have to say, without fail, 100% of our writers so surprise themselves at how good they get. But at the end, every writer has to have an even better editor. And so we polish that up to make it really market ready. And then we pop over into the other company, which is Stonebrook Publishing, which is our award-winning publishing house. So we start off doing two things simultaneously, and those are doing your cover design and proofreading your material. So with the cover design, let me just make this clear. We are not self-publishing. We are a publishing house. Okay. And so We're not using templates and churning out a bunch of, books. Every book you'll get 3 to 4 unique cover designs that have been designed for your book. And so you'll get those samples and you'll think, okay, I really like this one, but let's tweak it a little bit to make it exact. I like the font on this one, but I want this cover kind of thing. So we tweak it till it's perfect for you. And then simultaneously, your book is going through our proofreading stage.
Mhm.
It goes through 3 different proofreaders. And this is one of the things that many self-published authors don't.
Right.
It's a step they skip. So they end up with a do-it-yourself looking book, from the get-go, from the not editing well and not proofreading. So after we've got those 2 components, then a whole different team of designers gets involved to do the layout of your book. And they will take, sometimes, people often don't realize every book on the inside is also designed. So start noticing the interiors of books, they're all quite different. So we take the elements of your cover design, your brand, and extend it through to the interior design. And once we have those 2 pieces, we will print a proof copy of your book. And one is for you and one is for me. Every single book that comes out goes through me. And that's what we're scouring for any stray errors. And it's kind of funny that there are always some.
There's always something, yeah.
There's always some, because you can't believe how different your book looks from reading a Word document to holding a bound book. And it's actually probably one of the most delightful experiences that our authors have, because they've worked really hard on this.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Have a book someday, Anyway, they're holding it and they're reading it. And I always find more things than the author does, because I'm looking for specific things in the design. Like sometimes you'll see lines that are all crunched together, and they're too tight. And, anyway, that's called kerning. And, we look at that. But okay, so then your book is finished and ready to be released. And so we do, we work with the largest book distributor in the world, which is Ingram Publisher Services. And so they distribute to Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And so pretty immediately your book will be on those platforms. But they also distribute internationally to all bookstores and libraries. They have an opportunity to order your book. And then the final piece we do is the legal work to register your copyright with the Library of Congress, because you want to protect your intellectual property.
Right.
So there's a lot of steps on that. So it's out there. So just like your book doesn't write itself, it doesn't market itself either.
Exactly.
Yeah. So our companies actually don't do book marketing, but we partner with several different book marketers that we will introduce you to, depending on what you are looking for. Some authors want to have a Amazon bestseller, so there are certain marketers who specialize in that.
Focus on that.
Others want to have more of a like a publicist approach, and where they're marketed themselves, then their book is, kind of an ancillary thing. We have other marketers who will set you up on different podcasts to be a guest to spread your message out. So I am extremely connected in the publishing world, and people come to me a lot with their marketing ideas because they want to be affiliated with us and introduced to our writers. But we vet all of those referrals that we make. And, it's, we got you covered from your idea all the way to the end product.
I love it. Okay. So I actually have a question. How important is storytelling to make the book more powerful or impactful?
Not very.
Oh, really?
And no, not very. To have your book carried. Okay. Well, I absolutely totally advocate for you approaching your local independent bookstores in order to have your book carried there. But if you're talking about is there only one? Is there just Barnes and Noble now left? Yeah.
No, I mean storytelling within your writing. I meant.
I thought you meant the store carrying your book.
No,
oh my
storytelling. God. Sorry, I was like, what?
Oh my gosh. Storytelling is the crux of your book.
That's what I thought. I was like, wait, what? That's
Everything.
interesting.
It's everything. Because not only do you need to educate and inform your reader, you have to entertain them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not going to finish your book. And, besides that, we really only remember anything through stories at all. And
absolutely. So that's what I was expecting.
Yeah. So when you're
it.
doing your chapters and problem solution sets, the solution is telling stories, telling stories.
That makes sense. That makes more sense. I love it. So tell me a little bit about.
I even tell people 70% story, 30% explanation. That
makes sense. That's what I feel too. I love it. So tell me a little bit about what your own approach to branding and messaging in your business has been like through the years and the type of impact that it has had on your own success. I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, well, I love that question because it's been a journey. It's been about 16 or 17 years. And, you kind of start off loosey-goosey and all over the place because you're trying a bunch of things and seeing what the market responds to. But I worked with a branding coach in the beginning, which I highly advocate if you haven't really, honed in on what your brand is. And because I was I'm in a pretty unique role in that I taught writing. I'm teaching people how to write a book. I'm publishing, but I have a deep depth in the business community because I'm telling for years I work for these large tech corporations, and my job was to sell into their C-suites. So I have deep understanding of business and all. So when we're trying to figure out what are we going to call you, this coach. Well, you're doing books. And she goes, and you are a professor. You're teaching at a university. And what people need to know is how to do this. And so we came up with the book professor. And so, of course, everything, we actually have registered that trademark, which is, I think, an important thing in branding and all. And so over time, I tried to branch off into some other things like book marketing and stuff, and until I really came back to my core. And I think I said earlier, I only do one thing really, really well, and this is teach you how to get what's inside of you out into the world.
I love it. I love it. Yep. You focus on what you're good at, right?
Exactly. And it's so fun to do the thing, become more and more proficient at what you're doing. And, you may change your approach to how you do it to meet the needs of the market. But if you stay focused on what is my core offering, because I believe that everybody in business is doing the same thing, except in our own area of expertise. And those two is offering your client, your customer, two things. And those two things are hope and help. Hope that they can get from where they are now and help doing, and to where they want to be, and help doing that all along the way.
I love that. That's really true at the end of the day. Okay, so last question that I have for you, Nancy. Tell me, what role has personal development and mindset had in your own entrepreneurial journey, and if and how you prioritize it into your own life?
Well, mindset is everything. It really is. I mean, I think I am blessed with kind of a sunny disposition going into life. I just think things will always work out, and they do. And the funny thing is, along the way to things working out, some things don't work out, and mindset is really important. I mean, my own personal practices are, I have about 45 minutes to an hour of quiet time in the morning to read and meditate and just kind of get centered within myself. And then I'm ready to go. Things are always working out for me. And I think when you have that attitude, even when you're in the discovery phase of what is my brand and who am I really growing up to be, when you take all the things that work out for you and you keep pursuing them, you're on your journey toward what your area of expertise is.
100%. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming, Nancy. Where can people find you online? Where can they find out more about the Book Professor and what you do?
Yeah, I tell you, I'd love for you to go to my website. It's thebookprofessor.com. And one of my great joys is talking to people about their book ideas. And so there's a link across the top that says, schedule a call with Nancy. And it's a 30-minute Zoom call just to chat about what your ideas are. Please take me up on that, because I know you're thinking about writing a book. I know you've thought about it before. You don't know how to do it, and you don't know if you have a great idea. So let's just brainstorm some things and get connected. So it's thebookprofessor.com, and the link is scheduled with Nancy.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming today. It was great having you here.
I appreciate it so much.
Gracias for listening to today's episode of the Breakthrough Brand Show. To listen to more episodes or to be featured as a guest, go to fabipaolini.com/podcast for more details. Can I ask you for something? If you got value out of this episode, would you share it on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend, or just post it online. If you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let me know about the show and include the hashtag Breakthrough Brand Show. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We're regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure that you don't miss any episode, go ahead and subscribe right now. Your thumbs up, rating, amor, love, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and mean so much to me and my team. Want to know more? Go to our website, fabipaolini.com, or follow me everywhere as Fabi Paolini. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time. Con amor, Fabi.